How do you respond when suddenly there's a perceived threat or danger that you're faced with? Well, for most of us, the amygdala lights up, kicking in adrenaline and cortisol for making split-second decisions, and then kicks us into one of these responses: fight, flight, fear, and fawning. Never heard of fawn? We're going to learn a little bit about all of these today and how to bring yourself back to regulation and get out of dysregulation. If this is your first time seeing me, I'm Graniel, and for nearly 30 years, I've been a mental wellness mentor, helping people learn how to have their brains work for instead of against them, especially in situations like this when the amygdala lights up unnecessarily. And by unnecessarily, I mean a perceived threat will vary wildly for all of us. Yet the amygdala lights, so for example, me, it's spiders. But for many, it's not spiders. That's laughable. So whatever our situation is, when the cortisol and the adrenaline kick in, we can make split-second decisions as to how to handle the situation. And that looks like fight, flight, fear, and fawning. So let's start with fight. In addition to adrenaline and cortisol, fight kicks in with a surge of norepinephrine, which gives you that super braveness that is necessary for the fight. However, in modern day times, it's rare that we actually need self-defense and to be in fight mode. Now, this will happen a lot even just in our imagination. So I don't know if you've ever been in a fight or an argument with somebody in your imagination, and our body responds the same way. So adrenaline surges, and we get tense, and we get very monofocused, and the body just draws in really tight. Okay, so when left unregulated, this leads to a variety of health issues, as well as could land you in jail. Okay, so bringing yourself to regulation is important. We'll talk about those at the end of the video. Okay, then the next one is flight. When flight happens, dopamine kicks in. And dopamine allows you, so you've still got that other stuff going on, right? But this gives you the run situation, right? And again, now in modern day times, flight is not so much running from the saber-toothed tiger, so to speak, but flight will happen when we have the big talks. So it looks like avoidance and procrastination. That's how flight shows up. So when these big talks come up, you know, the things that we're nervous about, and we want to avoid, our body still takes the hit like something life-threatening is happening. And our pupils will dilate, we'll start to sweat, and a host of other things happen, even though we're not physically in danger. Okay, so when left unregulated, people tend to self-medicate, which leads to addiction, all in an attempt to avoid and run. Okay, next we have freeze. Freeze is known as deer in the headlights. I'm sure you're familiar with this one. It's when you kind of don't do anything. And the brain, the amygdala does this when fight and flight aren't options. They're not really going to help get you out of this perceived threatened situation. Okay, so what happens is the amygdala kicks in kind of an emotional numbness, I guess, would be good, brain fog, and a loss for words. This is where you sit there and stare and shrug. Does that sound familiar? That's you in the freeze of the three. Now, when it's left unregulated, you can have anxiety and also insomnia. Okay, so we want to get back to the regulation from that as well. Now, this brings us to the one that a lot of people aren't familiar with, and that is fawn. Okay, fawning happens when you have this perceived threat, right, this danger or whatever, and it comes across looking like it's not bothering you. Why? Because fawn masquerades as somebody who's virtuous, smiling, and a people pleaser. But the reality is it's a severe trauma response from childhood when we were, or if you were raised by a caregiver that was violent, emotionally unavailable, put out a lot of conditional love, and those types of situations. Okay, so this is more common than people think, which is why it's getting its whole special episode next week. All right, so let's move on to the now what, right? So we're recognizing these things, and how are we going to regulate them? Okay, it starts with noticing that you're feeling one of these things. So once you notice you're taking the power away a little bit, you're not kicking, so you're telling the amygdala, whoa, whoa, slow down. I see what's going on and I'm in charge. Okay, so now that you've recognized it, breathe. It sounds simple, people, and I tell you it works. When the amygdala is fired off, there's not enough oxygen going to the brain. It's going into the body so that you can accomplish one of the other F's. And so take a moment and breathe. Slow down. My favorite one is a domino breath. You breathe in deeply for 4, and you exhale long and slow for 6. 3 rounds of this will bring you back to the clarity you need to get away from those other trauma responses. Okay, and there's lots of breathing techniques. I know plenty of them. Reach out to me and we'll find the one that works for you. The next is pause. Pause for a moment. Yes, that comes with the break, with the breathing. And pause before you speak. This is so important because what you say cannot be unheard. You cannot apologize something into erasing it from somebody else's memory. Okay, so take a moment and pause before you speak. You can even tell somebody, I need a moment, which leads me into the next one, the countdown of 10. Remember, or have you ever heard when you say, hey, mister, you better get over here in 10, 9, 8. Do that for yourself. It might sound silly, but it's true. If you can, close your eyes for a minute and just tell the people around you, hold on, and in your head, and even just hold your hands up and count down and then open your eyes. And you'd be surprised at how much clarity will come to you in that moment of taking the pause, doing the countdown, and using the breaths, right? So those are kind of cascading on each other. And then the last one is to, if you're able to, imagine the ideal outcome. How do you really want this to be? You don't want this to be in a fight. You don't want to feel dysregulated, uptight, anxious, losing sleep, and so much more. So what do you want? Imagine better outcomes. This is my area of expertise. I can show you how to do this. Let's chat. Okay, so practicing these things, the breathing, the pausing, the counting, the recognizing, will allow you to train the amygdala to not react and respond so quickly. You get to choose first before all of those others, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, kick in. I hope that makes sense. And in a nutshell, it's basically recognize it and then regulate it. Okay, this is a big one, people. When this happens, this is so many things you might be having: insomnia, addictions, autoimmune disease. The list goes on and on and on. They are because the amygdala is on hypervigilance and not allowing you to get in a space of calm. Okay? So I hope that you're going to reach out to me, and until I see you again, stay happy, healthy, and harmonious. And remember, I'm looking forward to being on this adventure with you.